Okay, Truth Seeker, I got your last question, and I believe it's here where it says Mark Sutton. Well, yes, I was hoping Elohim meant God, singular. What happens in Genesis 1:26? He said, "Let us make man in our own image." Who would be us and our? Okay, so what I've done is I'm gonna add an excerpt to this video. Rabbi Michael Skobak, who just answers that specific question. And as soon as he's done, I'm going to come back and show you another very interesting passage actually found in the Christian Bible that really questions the whole Trinity issue. And again, this is not in the Jewish Bible, but it's in the Christian Bible. So here goes. Let me let you watch this excerpt first, and then I'll come back.
There are, as you probably know, many famous appeals that Christians make to the Jewish Bible. One of the most famous ones, for example, is in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, where God says, "Let us make man in our image." Right? And somehow this phrase, "let us make man," again, supposedly proves the Christian idea of the Trinity. Now, this assertion is really so weak. Someone asked before about Christian scholars. You should know that most Christian scholars, even the most Trinitarian Christian scholars, say this passage has absolutely nothing to do with the Trinity. They will either say that this passage where God says, "Let us make man in our image," they refer to it either as God addressing the celestial beings in heaven. So in the creation of man, God addresses the angels, the heavenly court, and God speaks to the angels and says, "Let us create man." The rabbis say that what God is doing basically is teaching an ethical lesson that when we do something, we should consult with our subordinates. Or, and this is not just a Jewish assertion, many Christian commentaries, the most conservative evangelical ones, say that's what's going on here, that God is addressing the angels. Other Christian commentaries, as well as Jewish commentaries, say this is what's referred to as the plural of majesty. That we see examples in the Bible where a king will speak in the plural. In Daniel, there's a passage where the king says, "What shall we do?" Right? He didn't become all of a sudden a person with split personalities. But it's common, editorial writers will speak in the we, it's called the editorial we, and royalty will speak, "What will we do?" So in the Bible, God says, "Let us create man." Those are the two most popular theories in terms of explaining why the Bible would say, "Let us create man."
Okay, Truth Seeker, I hope you liked the answer Rabbi Skobach gave in the clip I just shared with you that discusses that question about let us make man in our image. But one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention was this dialogue in Mark 12:28 through 34, where a scribe, a Pharisee actually, has a conversation with Jesus, and this is how it goes. 28. And one of the scribes came up and heard them disputing with one another, and seeing that he answered them well, asked him, "Which commandment is the most important of all?" And Jesus answered, "The most important is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." And the scribe said to him, "You are right, teacher. You have truly said that he is one, and there is no other beside him. And to love him with all your heart and with all the understanding and with all the strength, and to love one's neighbor as oneself, as much more than all whole burnt offerings and sacrifices." And when Jesus saw that he answered wisely, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." And after that, no one dared to ask him any more questions. Now, when you read this dialogue where Jesus is asked about which is the most important mitzvah, mitzvah in Hebrew is commandment, the most important mitzvah or mitzvah, depending on what kind of Hebrew you speak, if it's Ashkenazi Hebrew, Sephardic Hebrew. But the most important commandment here, as you see, Jesus says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one." And he, even the teacher, he calls him a teacher, and then he says, "You've truly said that he is one and there is no other beside him." So when you read this dialogue, right, this conversation that takes place, why isn't the Trinity mentioned? Why isn't it brought up by Jesus here? If Jesus was part of a Trinity, I mean, he would have known if he was the Son, God the Son, and he was part of, of a Godhead. I'm assuming he would have known, and I'm assuming that he would have brought this up in this dialogue, but he doesn't. It seems like he's agreeing, and he's actually stating, "The Lord is our God, the Lord is one." And that's it. Beside him there is no other. And not only does he agree with this scribe, but he commends him and he tells him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." That's really interesting. So, when Christians read their own Bible, when they read a passage like this or a verse like this, I mean, are they, don't they, I mean, what more is it that they need to understand that there's no such thing as a Trinity? There's absolutely no basis for it. It's not found anywhere in the Old Testament, and Jesus believed in the Old Testament. Jesus was a Torah observant Jew. There's evidence of that him and his followers were Torah observant Jews. They were not like the Baptist Christians you see today, the born again Christians you see today. And there's even evidence of that as well, and I can share it with you. Jesus instructs his followers to stay away from the city of the Gentiles and the Samaritans. And in Matthew 10:5-6, these 12 Jesus set forth and commanded them, saying, "Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and in the city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So Jesus only taught Jews. He was only around Jews. He was a Torah observant Jew. And there's evidence of that. Another passage that confirms that is Matthew 15:22-27. And it says here, "And behold, a woman of Canaanite came out of the same coast, and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil." And Jesus, how did he answer? But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He didn't even want to deal with her because she was not a Jewish woman. He was not. She was a Gentile. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It's not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs. He calls her a dog because she's not a Jewish woman. I mean, that's the Christian's hero, Jesus, who calls a woman a dog because she's not Jewish. I would think that that's a racist thing to say. And then it said, And she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. So she tells him, even though I'm a dog, but even dogs, you have to have mercy on them because they get the crumbs from what people eat. They throw it to the dogs. So even here you see, I mean, this is a weird, you know, thing that happens because it looks like very racist that he would say something like this just because she's not a Jewish woman. He calls her a dog. I mean, I don't think that's appropriate at all. For someone that they claim is who they say he is, the man of peace. Uh, I don't know what the Son of God or God the Son, but how do you explain these verses? Maybe you can, give me some, shed some light and tell me how you understand this verse. I'm done with all my explanations here. I hope they've answered your questions, and if you have any more, please let me know. Thank you.